Michael Roll, welcome to the program.
Thank you very much for inviting me.
Good. Explain to me, first of all, how this idea of survival after death works.
Well, I'm presenting the scientific case for survival after death, therefore it's very simple. It's got to be repeatable experiments under laboratory conditions backed up with a mathematical theory. That's all I'm interested in. I don't want to know anything about beliefs, just stone-cold scientific facts.
But what is it about this world? What form do people take when they live on after death? Do they have bodies? Do they speak? Do they think? Do they feel? Do they feel hungry? Are they ill?
That's a very good question. It's the $65,000 question. But when you take part in experiments, and I'm talking about repeatable experiments under laboratory conditions, people who once lived on Earth fully materialize in front of the scientists, and they fire in all these questions at them when they're fully materialized in front of them, and they're as solid as you and me. So the basic thing is that the physical body packs in, as we all know, but I'm 100% behind the religionists when they say we have a soul that separates from the dead physical body and the mind separates from the dead brain. But people who come back prove that they've still got bodies, but operating at a different frequency. Obviously, our physical bodies are made of protons, neutrons, and electrons, subatomic particles, but the soul that separates from the physical body must be made of much finer substance than our physical subatomic particles. Because for a short time on it, they're able to come back to Earth, people who once lived on Earth, and prove that they're still alive. Just the same as the story of Jesus when he said, "Catch hold of me, feel me." We are able to do that at our experiments.
Now, are we speaking from experience? Have you actually observed these people who have returned to Earth after they have died?
I don't think I could have doing what I'm doing if I hadn't had that experience. I would have packed in years ago. But in 1983, I came across one of these experiments, and I was invited to take part. And my father, who I love very much, died in 1967, but he fully materialized in 1983, giving me the crushing personal proof that he had survived death. So that was then my mission, to let people know about these discoveries in physics that haven't been generally available to everybody, but they are now, Lou, because of the internet. Anybody can check out what I'm saying and then make up their own mind whether to go down the path of orthodox science, which starts from the base of when you're dead, the mind and brain are the same, or to take the path of the scientists that I'm working with who start from the base that we do survive. We do all survive death.
So you're saying that you have actually met your father after he died?
Yes. But
describe to me in detail what you saw, how it happened, the context within which it happened. Did he speak? What did he tell you?
Well, I think we ought to first of all go back to the original scientific experiments that were carried out over 100 years ago, because that was what I was brought up with. My mother showed me these suppressed scientific discoveries that took place in 1874. One of the greatest scientists Great Britain has ever produced was Sir William Crookes. He ended up as president of the Royal Society, the most prestigious scientific body in the world. And he came across one of these experiments, something called what's called a materialization medium. That's the only medium that we're interested in on the scientific side, because when one of these experiments takes place, all 5 of our senses are working. Like I'm talking to you now. People can fully materialize in the presence of one of these mediums. The mediums are 10 feet away, and they fully materialize separate from the medium. And that's what these experiments were carried out in 1874. So I knew all about this, but in 1983, I saw in the paper that one of these mediums had come back on the scene again. So I realized we've got to repeat those Crookes experiments, because it's 100 years ago. So I went to see this medium. I was invited up there to take part in these experiments. And my father was just a personal thing for me. But before my father materialized, the first time I went there, he didn't materialize. But I met the people who were materializing on a regular basis. Recently deceased people were fully materializing. They were being reunited with their families over and over again. Repeatable experiments. And it's only repeating the Crookes experiments, but he only had one person materializing when he did his experiments and published them in the scientific papers. But now the mediums have improved out of all recognition, like all science is improving. We've now got recently deceased people fully materializing, proving to their loved ones that they have survived death. And it should be marvelous for the people of Malta, because I'm backing up the story of Jesus, the most important part of the Christian teachings, where when Jesus was killed, he proved to his disciples, the story goes, that he had survived the death of his physical body. He materialized in front of them. He said, catch hold of me, feel me. And that's exactly what we are witnessing at our experiments.
But you don't believe that the reason why you materialize is because there is some big supernatural being, a God, who makes you materialize. You are saying that it is a scientific fact.
Absolute scientific fact.
So
As Sir William Crookes proved.
So in a sense, I find it difficult that you're saying, you're speaking exactly like what you call the religionists.
Yes,
or the
I am.
Christians.
Yes, I'm on the religionist side here about survival, no doubt about that.
About survival, but not the reason for survival.
Well, I'm keeping an open mind on that. Like you, Lou, I'm a student of philosophy, and what's behind the power in the universe that creates galaxies and puts life onto planets, that's in my pending tray to think about. I haven't come to any set conclusions. But the people I'm meeting from the next world are exactly the same as you and me. They haven't got the secrets of the universe or anything. They've just come back to prove that they have survived death. Like Jesus came back and proved to his disciples that he had survived death. And they were as keen as I am. Like I met my father, I was determined to tell the world that we all survived. So are the disciples of Jesus.
Yeah, but why are you so reluctant to speak about your own experiences with your father?
No, I'm not reluctant. I tell you, because it was a personal thing for me. What I'm trying to push is this medium was demonstrating, and every time she gave a demonstration, 6 recently deceased people fully materialized, and they have all been reunited with their loved ones. Over and over again that happened. Now, when I went to that first meeting, they said, you're coming back next week with your mum, Mike. Is there anybody over here you'd like us to get? And that's when I said, oh, I'd love you to get my father if you could. And I went back the following week, and he materialized, came up to me, and gave me the personal proof that he had survived. Now, that was a one-off. Remember, I'm talking about repeatable experiments. It was just a one-off for me, but that was what I needed to push this through, because I had the personal proof of survival.
So you saw your father?
Yes, but because it had to happen in the old days. The materialization mediums like Helen Duncan, like people will make a study of the subject now, they look up Helen Duncan, and she demonstrated in red light. Every time her people materialized, it was in red light so everybody could see what was going on. And that, unfortunately, is what killed Helen Duncan, because she's taken what's known as ectoplasm, or the scientists in the etheric world are taking ectoplasm from the medium, and it's that ectoplasm, when she was disturbed, when she was in trance by a police raid, the police raided it, and the ectoplasm that was taken to form the people from the next world rushed back into her body, and she was killed. Now, she always demonstrated in red light, so people could see what was going on. Now, at this experiment I'm taking part in, the dead Helen Duncan now is materializing. And I said to her, this is having to be done in the dark at the moment, Helen. It doesn't matter now so much, because we've now got infrared cameras, laser cameras. We've got all the technology to record in the dark, whereas Crookes, for example, only had the flashlight photography. And she said, yes, ever since I was killed in 1956 by that police raid, the scientists in the etheric world have been trying to refine the ectoplasm that's taken from the medium. And now when you catch hold of me, and I was allowed to touch her, you can't feel there's any covering over me. It's there, but it's so fine that if our experiment should be interrupted, the medium shouldn't be injured anymore. We've refined the ectoplasm. But this time now, it's got to be done in the dark. We can't do it in red light at the moment. But as you know, Mike, you've now got the infrared cameras. It doesn't matter if it's in the dark, because we can film very easily.
So you actually did see your father?
Well, my father came up and touched me. He talked to me, and he